initiative, and we've been, for instance, developing on our website a new voucher management for our customers, and we are improving on a day-to-day basis all our procedure at Lisbon Airport. On the cargo performance, we are improving in performance step by step compared to 19 and 21, not only in revenue but also in yield, and we have even closer relationship with key customers such as Inditex or Amazon. On the people agenda, we've been starting a new CLA negotiation with some of our unions, and we will intensify this plan on the second half of this year. We've been recruiting, because of the increase also of the capacity for the summer season, more than 400 cabin crews. The emergency part-time of our cabin crew and maintenance staff ended, so that was also one of the important step on the relationship we have with our employees. So now employees in cabin crew and maintenance are full-time. We develop a navigation set with a relaunch of our purpose, visions and values and mission, with the main vision is to become a profitable aviation business by 2025. And we implemented a series of initiatives from a governance perspective, including a whistleblowing channel to enforce TAP X in governance. We also are developing employee engagement surveys that will be a key step, for the second half. On non-core business, as you all know, ground force restructuring is moving forward, and it's progressing. And we are supporting, all this plan, being the main customer of this organization. M&E Brazil is now closed, with the last aircraft to leave the hangar in May, and we are finalizing the process of the wind down of the organization. Now, Gonzalo, on the numbers.
Thank you, Christine. Welcome all. So a little detail on the numbers. What we saw on the first half of this year was a very strong recovery against the same period last year. We carried more than 4 times the number of passengers, of course, in the period last year where we were dominated by COVID. Nevertheless, January and February this year, we still had a COVID affecting our operation. But in the second quarter, we were able to carry already 82% of the passengers of the pre-crisis levels. But in terms of revenue, in the second quarter, we were able to achieve, as Christine mentioned, 99% of the revenue of the same periods in 2019. And we've done this with a smaller fleet, with a smaller operation, flying less, which bodes well to the way the operation is performing. This means, of course, that the RASK, which is the revenue per available seats, is performing much better than compared to 19 and to pre-crisis levels. And we're able to, in the second quarter, to have a better 8% better RASK in the second quarter compared to 19. This is mainly due to load factors and yields. We already achieved the load factors of 19 of pre-crisis levels with 84%, and we are operating with better yields, on average 12% better as of June. But of course, a good revenue performance is not enough to deliver a good operating margin. We are very focused in this restructuring plan on our cost performance. And even with the headwinds that Christine mentioned, and highlighting the jet fuel, which with the war in Ukraine has going up aggressively and affecting our operation, as I will tell you in more detail, but also the dollar appreciation, which has also some impact in our costs and balance sheet. We were able to deliver good cost performance. Our recurring CASK, which is our cost per available seat, was roughly the same as compared with 19 on the first half, and this delivered with, of course, a smaller fleet, which enables us to dilute part of our fixed costs. So in relative terms, this is a very good performance. If we exclude the fuel from the cost analysis and we report a recurring CASK ex fuel, you would see that we are performing 10% below compared to the pre-crisis level and to 2019. On jet fuel, which is by far the external factor that affects more our margin in our operation, on the first half, we spent 400 million on jet fuel. This compares with 100 million spent last year when we were, of course, still affected by COVID and when with a much smaller operation. Which means that we have spent 3.5 times more in terms of jet fuel. This was compensated in almost 80 million by our hedging activity. So we buy forward the jet fuel to advance in advance of our consumption to hedge the price, and with that we achieved a positive mark-to-market of almost 80 million euros to compensate the increase in the jet fuel. So at the end of the year, we expect the fuel prices to remain at these levels. We will spend roughly 1 billion at the end of the year just on jet fuel. It's by far our biggest cost, and we cannot control. The only thing we can do is proactively hedge. We have done 50% of our consumption hedged, and thus we have that 80 million positive effect. We will continue to hedge in the future and over the third and fourth quarter for levels slightly below 50% as we stand right now. But it's not fuel. It's not only fuel that impacts our costs. The focus of the management is pretty much related to a number of cost reduction initiatives. A profitable TAP means a leaner TAP, a TAP focused on a rigorous strict cost control. That means that we are involved in the number of initiatives. We are reviewing a big part of our contracts, for which we have achieved already almost 140 million euros of savings by renegotiating 800 contracts. We are implementing tools to better control what we pay to our suppliers, our costs. We are engaging in initiatives to reduce the weights of our aircraft in order to save the consumption volume in jet fuel. And of course, we are pushing for our direct sales to minimize our distribution costs. And this is just some of the examples that contribute to our CASK performance and thus to our margin. So all in all, a good revenue performance and a good cost performance means that we are able to say that we are above the restructuring plan. We are already presenting on the second quarter EBITDA margin close to 19%, EBIT margin of 5.8%, and these margins compare well with our competitors, which means that we are delivering precisely the goal that was set up in the restructuring plan. But this is not enough. Operating results are not net income. We still have to cover for interest expenses. And with the operating result that we reported on the first half, we were not able to cover for our net interest expense of more than 100 million, which means that we are reporting a negative net income still. So besides the net interest expenses, this first half, we had a negative effect coming from the dollar appreciation. Almost 2/3 of TAP's debt is in dollars, which means this is a balance sheet impact that affects our net income that was 202 million negative on the first half. In terms of liquidity, we can report a comfortable liquidity position. This is ahead of the target of the restructuring plan. Nevertheless, we are leaving now the summer, which is the peak of our operation, where we spend more cash. So we would expect that on the third quarter, we would see this number lower and lower cash levels for the company. In terms of our financial position, we have to report that we had an increase in our financial debt, mainly due to the acquisition of two 321 LRs, and 1 LEAP engine. And also on the depth performance, we of course affected by the dollar appreciation. We are still up to receive the last tranche of the state aid of 990 million that we expect to receive by the end of the year.
Thank you, Gonzalo. So then if we look a little bit on the next half, what could we see? So the capacity, as you can see on the second quarter, was at 92%. What we plan is 89% on the third quarter and 93% compared to 19% on the fourth quarter. When we look at the forward bookings, they are quite healthy with the third quarter with forward booking percentages that are above the level of pre-pandemic. And the same level for the fourth quarter, but we have also a pattern of bookings that are a little bit slower than pre-pandemic, so it's a good outlook on the demand elasticity of the market. But as was quoted before, we have a number of headwinds on second half. The first one is we still have a geopolitical uncertainty and potential ramifications that are still, unknown. A risk of recession that is starting to be, confirmed or commented by a number of players in the market. The inflation could also have an impact on the demand, for instance, but also on our cost structure. And the currency fluctuation, we've seen already the dollar, but we could also look and watch what could happen in other markets, and for instance also in Brazil, because Brazil is the second market after Portugal. We have an intensification of operational disruption, not only in Portugal, but everywhere in Europe, that had a direct impact on our operational stability in the third quarter and potentially in the fourth quarter. And the capacity of Lisbon that will have to be managed moving forward. The industry disruption have been quite significant, starting in the second quarter, but intensified in the third quarter. In order to answer to these disruptions, it's important to understand that we have an and-spoke operation, so to have a customer connecting through Lisbon, we need to have inbound flights, and this is inbound flights starting from Heathrow, from Amsterdam, or from Frankfurt. Are delayed, it will have a direct impact on the quality of service we are delivering to our customers, but also the misconnection that we will have to manage, not even talking about the bags of our customers. So these disruptions have been significant and have been widespread in Europe and are still in place. To face this disruption, we had to preemptively do what I think all airlines have been doing in Europe, cancelling some flight, but also adding some wet lease capacity, not only because we had some delays in the delivery of some aircraft, but also because we wanted to reinforce the capacity, spare capacity of our fleet in case of technical problem, in our industry. The technical issues are not, only a question of resources. It's also a question of availability of spare parts, because the industry also is facing challenges because of post-pandemic difficulty with supply chain to also have always on time and the spare parts you need, or when you need it with your fleet. And of course, we had to ensure adequacy of resources and decided, for instance, to recruit additional, resources in our cabin crew department. We have a set of initiatives, of course, on the second half, quite an ambitious plan. The CLAs and their negotiation is a top priority. It's fair to say that the emergency agreement were signed in last year, so a little bit more than 1 year. But in our commitment to the European Commission in the restructuring plan that was signed by the government, we have a commitment also to sign CLAs that are going beyond the restructuring plan. So it's a top priority for us. It's also a top priority because it will allow the CLA agreement with our partners to have a long-term perspective on the relationship and the constructive also relationship with all of them. We will launch our employee engagement survey that has been developed on the first half. We are also developing leadership training program for all managers in TAP Air Portugal. There has been a selection in a new partner for ground force. Now we are moving from the selection and working with a selected partner, to see the implementation plan and also preparing already for next summer. We are working on our own board service, still looking at improvement because our customer satisfaction is a priority. We are working on our fare structure with some changes. You've seen the fantastic work that has been done by the commercial team on the revenue evolution and the yield evolution, but our competitors are moving and we need to be competitive, so a lot of work is done by the teams. We will relaunch our new stopover program because we think that this program could be even stronger, moving from one stop to two stop and with even more days to stopover, promoting Portugal as a fantastic destination to all our customers that connect through Lisbon. We will also have a quick wins on flight app and app. We know that our digital experience has to be improved and we are investing in this digital channel. To focus on sustainability and network, and of course governance is always a priority to just see some progress, and having in mind that transparency is also creating trust with all our stakeholders. We had our first SAF flight on July the 22nd in a partnership with Galp and ANA. TAP wants to be part of the future of aviation, so we are now building a stronger sustainability strategy, and this strategy will be launched with our business plan for 2023. So it's a significant expectation, not only from our customers but also for employees, and we want to be part of the solution that all the players want us to see developed by TAP. Our network strategy, network is a key of also all airlines. What is our strategy? We just confirmed that it's about our hub and spoke operation in Lisbon, and we have key long-haul flows. Key long-haul flows are for us the engine of our profitability. First, of course, Europe to Brazil, but also Central Southern Europe to North America, but also Europe and North America to Africa and to the islands. So we know that cost is key, mainly to on point-to-point short and medium haul to compete with our competitor low cost. And that's what we have to improve step by step moving forward to be competitive on these European routes. But also we are developing key relationship with partners in the airline industry and deploying even more our code shares to make sure we are benefiting from the strengths of partners in market where we are don't have the same level of presence. We also have been improving and been recruiting new leaders in Brazil and North America, because these two markets from also a point of sale are really key for the success long term of the company. We are doing some optimizations that are focusing on strengthening the core network. We've been launching, some extra leisure destination this summer, but it's really tactical and seasonal, and we want to be flexible in the future. We are always trying to redevelop our capacity on a core market. For instance, to Brazil, we have been reopening all our destinations, but we still have a way to go to also restore the frequencies that we'll do step by step, with our fleet. Our aircraft allocation is improving, and we are also enhancing the connectivity with our main market with schedules that are improving step by step. It's really the second step of the network optimization. This summer was a first step after pre-pandemic. It was, a big stretch for the organization and the industry. And now we are already preparing not only this winter, we will have another peak in December, as we always do, but we are already preparing next summer. So in conclusion, as you can all see, we are recovering from the crisis, and the capacity has been improving even more rapidly than our peers, thanks to the structure of our network. We have strong first half operating result. The net income is improving, but we still have a lot of work to do to become net income positive. That is our ultimate objective. We have a good plan, and we are focusing on the restructuring plan that is showing result for the organization, and is showing result in the improvement of our operating result, and also our way to a positive net income. We have strong booking for the third quarter, but we still have the headwinds that will challenge us, and the disruptions are definitely stronger in the third quarter. So our work is to deploy and implement the restructuring plan. That is a good plan for the organization, and the management team is working very hard with all the employees of the organization to make it possible. I would like, just for the last word, to ask the three other members of the executive committee to join us, just because you can then see the team, because we are talking with Gonzalo, but it's really a teamwork. So with Sylvia, Sofia, and Ramiro, so you have our full dedication to deliver the plan for the company, for his employee, but also we have our duty for the country. Thank you very much. Yes?
Good morning. Miguel from SIC. Well, I have a few questions. First of all, these numbers are in line with the plan of the European Commission. Second, how do you see the critics of the workers of bad management in the few weeks? Are you concerned with the growth of the EasyJet operation in Lisbon? And last but not least, TAP headquarters are in Lisbon. It's a Portuguese company with public capital. Are you learning Portuguese, or it's not necessary for you? It's not a question for you.
Eu falo português.
Okay.
Okay. On the first question, we are better than the plan, as has been explained, meaning that the recovery of the traffic and the yield are showing a good performance and also delivering results. That's something that we are really happy with, and we are sharing with you and the organization, but we are cautious because I think the industry has been surprised by the recovery, and the surprise is coming with a very high demand, but with some challenges. So I think it's important also to invite you for the full annual result, because you will have the fourth season, the fourth quarter, and that's why we are cautiously optimistic. Okay. On the second, on some critics of some workers, it's what we answered. You can only judge management by the results are delivering. And I think that today we are delivering good results. So I understand some frustration of some, our employees, and we meet them on a regular basis. But it's really important to base everything on facts and numbers. Perception are really important, and we have to change this perception. And I hope that today, by presenting this result, there will be no doubt that the management team of TAP is doing a very good job. On EasyJet, I think that it was in the plan. So we knew from the beginning and the approval of the plan in December that we had to transfer 18 slots. So it's been done just at the beginning of August. We signed the contract with EasyJet. Of course, it was monitored and managed by the European Commission. So it's in the plan. So from the beginning, we knew that it will happen. So the winter season has been designed by including it was not EasyJet, but the 18 slot and reorganizing the schedule. Everything. What was the first question? Oh, I answer this one. Okay.
I have another one. Sorry, the new airport and the discussion about the location. What do you think about that?
The only thing we can say today, first, and we said on, and we want to see a decision. There are many stakeholders. TAP, of course, will be the first customer of future airport, and for us, it's really important to have a vision, because as you can imagine, when you're planning a long-term plan, the question is, how do you plan for an airport or an infrastructure that is not decided? So for us, the most important, let's say, expectation is to have a decision.
Fernanda Fernandes from the RTP. These good results for the unions are the argument to reverse salary cuts. So do you admit to reverse the wages and to make some reverse on the restructuring program? Second question, are you worried or not about strikes in this company? Thank you.
Okay, on the first point, we have signed with all the unions emergency agreement in 2021 for the full period of the restructuring plan. We are only 6 months in the restructuring plan, so it's completely impossible to think that we could reverse anything for the first 6 months of restructuring plan results, and explaining to the Commission that in fact we change our plan. So the plan should be quite consistent in what we need to deliver and how we deliver it. The way to see a positive and constructive evolution is what we are doing, is negotiating the future CLA, because if we have a new CLA, of course, we will move from the emergency agreement to the new CLAs. And that new CLA objectives that we have, and we have now dates with all the unions. We announced our CLA with our pilots earlier this year, and we have now dates to start a discussion with all our unions, because we want to plan for the future after 2025. And the new CLA are for us definitely a constructive and positive way to see an evolution of our relationship. The crises have been difficult for everybody. The cuts are, we know, difficult for everybody. That's why, speeding up the process of negotiation on new agreement is definitely a very positive way to see the evolution of the relationship with all our partners. For the strike, of course, any manager, is concerned by a potential disruption, additional disruption, because we already have disruption in our operation. But we definitely are confident that our unions understand that in a transformation and restructuring plan, it will be very, very, difficult and damaging, to see an interruption of our operations. So that's why we are relentlessly working with them, trying to find solutions, short-term, long-term. There have been a lot of evolution, moving from part-time to full-time. So it's we want and are spending a lot of time with all our labor partner, and will do, because we know it's a very important part of what we have to deliver.
Good morning. Good morning, Gonçalo Almeida, CNN Portugal. Many passengers complain that they are buying tickets to fly on TAP airplanes, but then they are flying in airplanes from other companies, like Malta Airlines, for example. Is this a problem for you?
Okay, first, I don't think it's Malta, or I'm not aware that is Malta. You maybe are talking about Air Bulgaria. So we have been SCMI, we have SCMI, so we are buying capacity from other airlines. First, it's a practice of the industry that is a classical practice of the industry, not only for TAP, not only this year, but we have been doing that forever, but for all our players of the industry. Why? In fact, because you have a capacity that is planned, but it's a little bit when you are working with an employee structure, but you have peak and then you need temporary, some capacity in resources or in your fleet. So yes, we are having capacities that is not with our meter, so our fleet. The reason why is because we have been having delays, for instance, in delivery of our Embraer fleet. We are moving from 13 to 19 for a number of reasons, including the ramp-up of the industry and everybody's overloaded. We had some delays. We had also some, let's say, to face some also disruptions. So we decided to protect our passenger more than we could do with our own fleet to contract the CMI for these two main reasons. We absolutely understand that some passengers are not happy, but the question is more, what is more important? To ensure that the customer is arriving to his final destination and not to cancel a flight? Is the CMI the worst case scenario? We think that ensuring the contract or delivering the contract to a customer is really the top priority. We understand that could be disappointed, but they are informed before travel as much as we can, because it's in operation always a challenge. So we always have in mind the priority for our customers to ensure for them to fly to their final destination.
Hello, I'm Ana Suspiro from Observador newspaper. I have two questions. You have mentioned the risks on the second half of the year. You have mentioned inflation. I also would like to know concerning the disruption of the operations. Why do you expect it to get worse on the second half of the year, since it's not the strongest season for aviation industry? And also would like to know when will TAP be able to go to the markets and raise the funds that were, I believe, supposed to deliver this year. You have mentioned that you expect the last public aid to arrive this year, but I also understand that TAP was supposed to go to the markets and issue a private loan. Can you tell me something more about that? Thank you.
Okay, I will answer the first question. Yes. So on the first question, we know that disruption will intensify because we are already end of August, and these are the results of end of June. So we have been living already through July and August. So the reality that July has been quite complex. August is some stability, but it's still very challenging. So we are going through it, hopefully with a stabilization that will be even better in September. So, but we are preparing ourselves. So to answer to your question, yes, it has been intensifying, and we have been quite under pressure in July and August.
Vou responder esta em português. Sobre a necessidade da TAP ir ao mercado este ano, de facto o aumento de capital feito no final do ano passado substituiu um instrumento de dívida que poderia ou deveria ter sido feito até o final do ano passado. As necessidades de financiamento da TAP no plano de reestruturação não prevêem nenhuma operação este ano. Durante o ano de 2023, muito provavelmente faremos uma operação de mercado, uma operação de financiamento, e isso em linha com os compromissos inscritos pelo Estado português à Comissão Europeia no plano de reestruturação da TAP.
Good morning. I'm Anabela Campos, and I will deliver my questions in Portuguese because TAP is a Portuguese company paid by the Portuguese, and I know you understand Portuguese. You don't speak Portuguese like us, but you understand. And the CFO is Portuguese, so I think he should answer our questions in Portuguese. I would like to. Eu gostava de saber primeiro como é que a TAP vai pagar, ou planeia pagar, os mais de 50 milhões de euros que os pilotos dizem que lhes são devidos desde 2010. Eu sei que já houve reuniões com os pilotos e que o assunto ainda não está resolvido. A TAP tem tido manifestações de pilotos, teve pela primeira vez uma manifestação conjunta de pilotos tripulantes e trabalhadores da manutenção, e tem sido acusada de má gestão e eu sei que a TAP já fez um comunicado sobre isso, mas eu gostava de vos ver comentar melhor essa situação. Outra questão é, o Sr. Ministro das Infraestruturas disse que a TAP iria ter prejuízos de 54 milhões de euros este ano, e eu gostava de saber se é esse número que esperam apresentar aos portugueses no final de 2002. Gostava de saber também como é que está a correr a Portugália, e basicamente e como é que está também a operação do fecho do Brasil, e quanto é que isso ainda vai custar à TAP. Obrigada.
Okay, so on your first question on the pilots and court case decisions, we are in discussion with them, so I will not be able to release any information. The fact that they have been also doing some demonstration with their colleagues, I think it's the freedom of speech, the freedom of doing it, and that they are absolutely right. I think that I already answered about a number of comments. I think that, again, we prefer to answer by showing the results and to do some comments or answering directly, and you've seen our communication.
You can dialogue with them because
Yes.
it's not easy to manage a company when your employees are against the management, in conflict with the management.
Well, I think that I don't know what you mean. You always have tension during a crisis and after crisis. Of course, we are not saying that we are happy to see demonstration in the street. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's very important for the management not to lose the focus on what has to be done. And then it's discussion, it's understanding, it's change management. But we still are in discussion with all our partners, and I think that obviously we would like the relationship to improve moving forward, and we are doing everything to do so. But it is what it is, and our job is to delivering the plan. And we are delivering the plan.
Sobre as perguntas que fez sobre o net income, nós não damos guidance de final do ano. O que podemos dizer com estes resultados do primeiro semestre é que, operacionalmente, a empresa está a ter uma melhor performance do que estava previsto no plano, melhor em receitas, melhor em margem operacional. O resultado líquido tem um impacto cambial, a que se deve da valorização do dólar, é um impacto contabilístico, não de cash. Mas a verdade é que a valorização do dólar, se as nossas dívidas estão em dólares, tem um impacto negativo no nosso P&L via resultado líquido, mas os resultados no final do ano, apresentaremos no final do ano, e estamos confiantes que vamos reportar números operacionais acima do que estava previsto no plano de reestruturação. Sobre o fecho da M&E Brasil, da empresa de manutenção e engenharia no Brasil, já fechamos de facto a operação. Não temos nenhum avião no hangar, já não é uma empresa operacional. Do total de 500 e poucos trabalhadores que tínhamos na altura da decisão do fecho, temos hoje menos de 20. Estamos apenas a liquidar as dívidas e as contingências que advêm do fecho da operação, mas a empresa já não é operacional e já não representará nenhum impacto de P&L negativo de resultado na demonstração de resultados para a TAP no futuro.
I have a question. Levi Fernandes from AFP. There was a staff flight on July. Is there another flight scheduled next month, or what's next?
Okay.
Are you planning to do?
We don't have any flight schedule so far. I think we are now working more on the plan based on this first flight, because the flight was a flight also on the technical side to show how it's possible to fly, with our fleet with SAF fuel. So now we are working on the next step. There is a question mark of the production of SAF in Portugal, so that's also something that some players have to address, and that we are involved in some discussion to understand how we could, in the future, have the availability of some SAF production in our country. So that's many question mark, but we want to be part. We would be in Portugal the first customer of aviation SAF fuel, and we need to explore some possibility to have this production, in the future. Portugal, yeah, so you even have Walter, not just on the first row. Portugal has been a challenge, because moving to 13 to 19 aircraft is already a quite significant challenge. But in addition to that, having some delays, that are out of the control of the company. So I think Portugal has been doing, all things considered, a very good job in facing these challenges, and is still doing a very good job. So we can see now the delivery of one by one the aircraft that should have been, delivered before the peak season, and that will go through the end of this year. And I think Portugal will have next year much more, that's our hope, stable operational performance with their own fleet, with their own resources, and with capacity to plan much better.
I'm sorry, I have to insist on the question of the public aid. I didn't understand. So TAP is not going to the market this year, but next year. But it's still expecting to receive almost a billion euros this year in public aid.
Yes.
What will be the form of this aid, and when will it arrive at TAP?
Yes, so all the state aid injected in TAP is in the form of equity. So this will be a capital increase and an equity injection of 990 by the sole shareholder of TAP SA, which is GGTF. On the plans to raise funds next year, this goes in line to what we've presented in the restructuring plan. We have debts maturing in 23 and 24 for amounts close to 700 million. So some form of refinancing is needed. We are still working internally to develop the best structure and the best idea to tap the markets. But we will do that for sure during the first half of 23, and we will start working with investors in the fourth quarter on that.
What is the number of the debt that is to be refinanced?
We have debt maturing in 23 and 24 of close to 700 million, which are the bonds that you have listed in the market. The one maturing in 23 and the high yield maturing in 24.
Qual é o valor dos voos pendentes este ano?
Dos bilhetes não voados?
Bilhetes.
Unflown liabilities. Sim, claro que sim. O passivo de bilhetes não voados eu creio que está relativamente estável em relação ao ano passado, mas eu dou-lhe o número detalhe.
And we are reducing also all the voucher, liability step by
Nós
step.
estamos a tratar não só do nosso backlog de refunds, mas e também de vouchers, e esse número é menor do que era na mesma altura este ano.
Confirmasse o valor das poupanças que mencionou há pouco, com a renegociação de contratos, e se pode especificar um bocadinho que tipo de contratos são esses, por favor?
São 137 milhões de euros, são contratos de todo o tipo, desde fornecedores pequenos a fornecedores maiores, a fornecedores tecnológicos, a parceiros que são fundamentais na operação da TAP. Como sabe, o plano de reestruturação representa um esforço para muita gente, representa um esforço para o Estado português e para os contribuintes portugueses, representa um esforço para os trabalhadores da TAP e também tem que representar o esforço para os fornecedores da TAP, e foi esse o esforço que foi pedido a todos eles em renegociações que ainda continuam, umas mais fáceis e outras mais difíceis, para poupanças que no final do plano serão superiores ao número que agora apresentamos.
Estabeleceram a partir de alguma meta de redução, 20%,
Sim.
30%? Qual é que
Não, temos uma meta total interna no plano de reestruturação para poupanças de custos em negociações.
Mas não contrata contrato?
Não, é um montante total.
Disse 137 milhões, foi isso? Este ano? No
Atingido até agora,
Até agora, no
Até
primeiro
desde o
semestre.
início do plano.
Ok.
Ok, so muito obrigada.
Muito obrigado.